The issue of war raises many serious concerns about who we are as human beings. Who are we that can allow the brutal atrocities of war to continue as though it were somehow an inescapable reality? That's the way it is. We send off our sons, and these days our daughters too, send them off to kill and maim those who are perceived as threats to our country's interests. And yet we like to think of ourselves as good people. We think of ourselves as ethical people who focus on doing what is right in the world. But acting in an ethical manner does not mean following your instincts about what feels right, but it entails fully understanding certain fundamental principles that need to be applied to our behavior, our interactions with others, whether we like those principles or not. In fact, doing what is right can make us squirm just a little bit, which I think may happen here this morning. I want to address the ethical principles that might easily go against the grain of what we have always felt to be a right, correct, moral response. In fact, we may find ourselves moving a little bit out of our comfort zones this morning when reflecting on the full implication, the entire implication of respecting and valuing all people unconditionally. But you know, if such an ethic were practiced, there would be no war. I purposefully raised the issue today, just one day before Veterans Day, a time when we honor the vets who served in the armed forces. Tomorrow marks the anniversary of the end of World War I, which formally ended at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918. It was supposed to be the war to end all wars. We have failed miserably in making that hope stand up under the strains of conflict in the modern world. And I want to examine, why is that the case? And challenge all of us, including us peaceniks, that perhaps our own ethical failings have contributed unwittingly to a hostile climate forever poised to engage in warfare. I'm going to rely mainly on the ethical principles as presented by Stephen Pope, a professor of theological ethics at Boston College. I want to be clear about this, especially in light of all the attention that Rand Paul has received, about all this plagiarism stuff. So I want to be really clear about this. I'm not plagiarizing. I sometimes do present original ideas from the pulpit, which shock even me. But at other times, I really just, I think the purpose I have is to serve as a conduit for information and concepts in order to keep the congregation apprised of new thinking, especially in the worlds of ethics and theology. So I want to begin tackling Professor Pope's ideas by first looking at our 7 Unitarian Universalist principles, especially the first one, because it's the first one that calls for the affirmation and promotion of the inherent worth and dignity of all people. All people. We embrace that principle with all our hearts. Yeah, all people deserve respect and dignity simply because of their humanity. It's like an ethical injunction to recognize other people not as objects or somehow some people are unequal or unworthy of dignity. Immanuel Kant drew as his baseline the idea that each and every man and woman never, stress, never be treated merely as a means, but as an end in him or herself. So let's be honest, you and I. Are we willing to embrace our first principle, or Kant's injunction? Are we ready to embrace that without exception? Are there some people, we may privately believe, who do not deserve this kind of absolute recognition of having inherent worth and dignity? And if so, how do we determine who is to be denied dignity and worth? If a person commits a horrific crime, is it then permissible to dismiss whatever inherent value he or she possesses? Well, I think we might all agree that the Golden Rule marks clearly how we should treat one another. But the Golden Rule actually relies on the premise that everyone has inherent worth and dignity. And are we ready to accept that? The independent value of each and every person is implied in do unto others as you would have them do unto you. There is an appreciation for the worth of a person that is not dependent on do unto them if you think they are worth it, and you can perhaps even get a favor in return. There's no reciprocity indicated nor any exceptions to the rule for when a person may have lost his or her entitlement, their human entitlement to be treated fairly. Do unto others is intended as a unilateral moral commitment to the well-being of another person. It is not about this possible exchange where I will give to you so you will give in return. There's only the admonition to treat the other as a worthy human being, as we ourselves would like to be treated, period. Other forms of this moral directive come wrapped in familiar lines. Love your neighbor as yourself. You find that in Leviticus. In Deuteronomy, love the stranger, for you were strangers once in the land of Egypt. Liberals tend to take these edicts to heart and offer them as justification for treating everyone equally. People of color are our neighbors. The LGBTQ community is our neighbor. Women are inherently worthy human beings. And immigrants must be treated equitably because we too were once strangers. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. struggled and ultimately sacrificed his life to make it a law, this belief that we owe unqualified respect to each and every person. Bishop Desmond Tutu employed this principle in South Africa in his famous letter to the President P.W. Botha, in which he wrote, "The Bible teaches that what invests each person with infinite value is not this or that arbitrary chosen biological attribute, but the fact that each person is created in the image of God." Now, we would all agree that everyone in society deserves a seat at the table and that the voiceless among us deserve a voice. It's one thing, however, to call for respect for the victims of discrimination, be it through Jim Crow, apartheid, Stonewall, women's movement. It is quite another thing, however, to insist on the respect of everyone, including the perpetrators of discrimination. Likewise, it is far easier to call for respect of those who have been victimized and oppressed by ruthless dictatorships around the world. That's easier than it is to extend respect to the perpetrators of such crimes. Just lean for the victims. Yeah, bring them up. They deserve dignity. The perpetrators of these crimes, perhaps a different story. Does respect for the inherent human worth of all people extend to everyone? Does it extend only to the victims? Does the moral commitment to others extend to evildoers as well? Ought we respect everybody, or do we make exceptions? And if so, what guidelines do we use? Take our prisoners, even hardcore prisoners in our penal system. Are they worthy of respect? Or do we somehow classify them as belonging into another category? But aren't they human too? So here's the heart of the issue. Do you personally make the moral assumption that human beings can commit acts which are so evil that they should no longer be shown respect? So be it.